They were destroying exculpatory evidence. What Yale was doing was they were going around finding stuff that proved my innocence and destroying it. And the prosecutor's office caught
Are
them.
you serious?
Yes. And the prosecutor's office caught them because they were trying to force a narrative.
There really is something very wrong at our universities. The tremendous injustice that's being done to a number of young men at these institutions who are accused of sexual assault and harassment. So recently there was a huge sort of legal earthquake. The Supreme Court in Connecticut ruled in favor of my next guest. He was suing Yale and wanted to sue a classmate, a former classmate, who had accused him of sexual assault, and the university had put him through this ridiculous kangaroo court and before it ruled against him. And so my guest here, I'm really grateful that you're coming on my show to talk about this. Saif Khan. A lot of people are talking about DEI right now, and that's great. I think DEI is a real problem. It is a completely, ridiculous and destructive philosophy, and it's way too prominent on all college campuses, almost all campuses. But what's going on at modern universities with this kind of, I think, very anti-male, quote unquote, feminism, and these Title IX policies and these kangaroo courts that guys like you are being put through, I think it deserves a lot of attention as well.
They take something extremely taboo and something that has deep, deep emotional gut reactions to people, which is sexual assault. Mm-hmm. And then you couple that with this reign of terror where people are unable to talk about it. What happened to me happens ubiquitously, happens across the board. There are so many people suffering in silence. And then along with that, you add the social tabooness of it, where you get a scarlet letter with it and you're not able to fight and everybody always distrusts you. Mm-hmm. I have been proven through proper significant evidence that I'm innocent, but there's an air of doubt with me throughout my whole life.
Yeah, you were acquitted. I'm sorry, I just want to make clear to our audience, acquitted by a jury in a legal court of law. And the evidence on your side is astounding. I mean, it's blatantly obvious based on text messages and even video evidence, surveillance cameras on campus, that this woman, your accuser, was lying.
I'm incredibly lucky that I was able to have a ton of evidence available to prove my innocence. Yale was actually found by the prosecutor's office in violation of Brady v. Maryland, which was that they were destroying exculpatory evidence. What Yale was doing was they were going around finding stuff that proved my innocence and destroying it. And the prosecutor's office caught them.
Are you serious?
Yes. And the prosecutor's office caught them because they were trying to force a narrative.
A lot of people don't know that when guys like you, when you're accused of sexual assault or harassment on these campuses, that there is this small administrative board, or in some cases, it's a single administrator, a college administrator who is adjudicating these cases. It's not like some seasoned judge or fair-minded jury of your peers or something like teen court or whatever, right? Like it's bureaucrats, and it's bureaucrats who are very invested in one political narrative, right?
Right. You're highlighting something that has been expanding for decades now, the bureaucratic bloatware that has installed itself upon the economic structures within America.
There's a particular ideology right now that is really popular on college campuses and among young people, and it casts women largely in this victim role, and as whatever, and as sexual interest from men as being predatory. And I think the thing is that I've seen as well is that yes, there are rapes that occur, but if you dig into particularly the stuff on these college campuses, if you dig into a lot of these accusations, what you actually see is things got murky, that two people got intoxicated and had sex. And there even is, in a lot of cases, evidence, textual evidence that there was that no one was forced and that there was some kind of temporary consent. And I think that what happens is there's a lot of ambivalence, or maybe these women in certain cases, like with what sounds like in your case, they were afraid that their friends would know and see them as a slut or whatever, because those double standards still exist, right? And so it's just easier to put it off on the guy. And I liked what you said also about how, in this case, it seemed like there was just a kind of a course of events that sort of just took over after a certain point, that she
Right.
said something to her friends, but then the friends, because they were sort of indoctrinated in this ideology, they really
Yes.
jumped on it and were like, oh, you've been assaulted. And then the machinery, like you said, of Yale takes over. And I've seen in so many of these Me Too hoaxes that I've covered on my channel over the years that most of the time it's women who, they're not really thinking about the long-term consequences or the long-term
Right.
game, and they out of emotional or whatever, they say
Right.
something and it's too late.
And that's the issue with the deer in the headlight situation with a lot of these accusers, because they aren't aware of the apparatchik that is the
Mm,
Kafkaesque machinery that has been installed with that bloatware.
mm.
Because those people, to justify their jobs, they have to create entire systems. It was just weird to grow up in Afghanistan and have this sort of weird experience and animosity in America, where it's 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 very Taliban-esque. I mean, even the word Taliban, the root is students, and so the way it grew is it actually started on campuses,
Mm.
and then that's how they implemented Sharia law all over Afghanistan. And so part of the reason why I'm motivated and fighting so strongly, where I was just at Congress a few weeks ago for lobbying, and so there are like quite a few moves that I have planned.
But one place I think we would agree where society can start to clean up some of this ideology that's so poisonous and toxic is in the universities. And so if this is the kind of toxic ideology that we've got, and these are the kinds of toxic, practices, and I don't think a lot of people understand also that in these campus tribunals, you mentioned earlier, like you were not allowed, neither was your attorney, to question this woman, and you don't have the right to face your accuser in court. I mean, there are all kinds of ways in which the usually male who is accused has his rights taken. He's legally bound up, and so
Yeah.
I don't think people understand